Come on in, bestie. Welcome to StoryPod, where we do the doing of story development together. Brought to you by Creative BFF. Hello. Listen, I kind of like low-key pressed record before I was like expecting to be recording. But in any case, we're here now and we're not going to stop. All right. Welcome to the StoryPod podcast brought to you by Creative BFF. I am your Creative BFF, Ashley. Thank you for joining me. This is a video audio. A video audio? An audio visual? Girl, the words are not wording right now. This is an audio visual version of the podcast. So you may be listening to this somewhere and not seeing my face. You may be watching this on the YouTubes and seeing my face and also hearing it. Okay, listen, we love you wherever you are. We meaning me, myself, and I. All right. Thank you for joining me. Okay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, not the option, but the opportunity to become your best friend. Okay. And what we're going to do today is something that I love doing. All right. Which is answering story questions. Now, as is my common refrain right now, we don't know each other yet. You and I, okay, haven't found each other yet. So in order to have questions to answer, I go to Reddit, one of the various writing subreddits that I like to creep on and answer questions. But if you have a question for me, I would absolutely love to answer it here on the podcast. So please feel free to send me your question. You can email me at ash@creativebff.com, or you can go to my website, creativebff.com, and go to the contact page and send me a message. And please make sure, because I don't want to ignore you, that you put story question in the subject. Because listen, my eyes are just skimming past all of the like Google notifications, all of the spammy type stuff. I'm just like, I'm not even paying attention. So let me know that it's a story question that you have. But in the meantime, until we find each other, I have another question for you. It is from the r/sci-fi writing subreddit. And it is by 88Y53. And the question is, need help avoiding generic Lovecraftian Eldritch monstrosity. Did I say Eldritch correctly? I don't know. So in my story is a space opera which involves liberal use of time travel. The big bad is revealed to be a race of sentient, dark matter beings that are acausal, so they impact the universe through all time without even realizing it. They primarily survive by prematurely aging stars, so they're basically accelerating the death of the universe and disrupting the timeline without understanding what that'll do to the rest of life. But that seems rather one note to me. My problem with Lovecraftian monsters is that I see it as a rather lazy writing predicated on this idea of something so vast you cannot comprehend its motivations. That's all very well for an existential, wow, why can't I say that word? Existential, listen, you know what I'm trying to say, horror story, but not very engaging for a space opera. I was hoping I could hear some suggestions to improve or expand on these beings' motivations, because I'm kind of stuck on this. I was thinking of taking inspiration from Anti-Spiral / Spiral Nemesis from Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. Sorry. But they were also rather generically evil. I eat your galaxy for the lulz monsters. Okay. So I don't know. I'm not familiar with that anime. I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with the story of that. So I'm not even going to try to reference that. Off the top of the dome, which is how we do this. Okay. This is how we do this. All right. We're getting it raw. We're getting it live. We're getting it direct from my Chrome Dome to your Chrome Dome. All right. Off the top of the dome, the first thought that I had, and perhaps we'll push a little deeper, we'll try to find something a little more interesting and unique, is that they eat the stars. Okay, because it's their food. It's basically like they're cows grazing the universe, eating the grass, which is the stars, right? That's an easy one. So they're not necessarily doing it specifically to kill life. Now, this is going to depend, as I always say, on the type of story you want to tell, the world building, who are your main characters, can they even do anything to stop this? And so the question would then be, since they're sentient, will our main characters have a way of connecting with these dark matter beings? Are these dark matter beings actually huge, massive, like, I mean, I guess they would if they're eating stars, if they're prematurely aging stars. That kind of lends itself to the visual of a huge mass. But could it be a race of people, quote unquote people, of beings that are actually like human sized or not far off? So they're not galaxy sized beings, and they don't necessarily realize that there's other life. Could they live cognitively in another dimension, another plane of existence, so they're not necessarily aware of other life forms in the universe beyond their own? And I'm pulling from, okay, listen, this is just my very loose, unresearched, probably incorrect understanding of the myth of jinns, Jinn. My understanding, and maybe I got this from a story that I read somewhere, so I don't know if this is actually part of the mythology or if there's a religion around it, if this is actually part of the religion, but my understanding, and I could be wrong, is that they exist in like a parallel universe to ours. And so perhaps there's like a whole race or people of jinns that are kind of living on the earth with us, or this is the idea that don't interact necessarily until there's like a moment to interact, and most don't know that humans exist. So could it be something like that if they're a race of individuals and not just massive galaxy whales going through eating stars, right? So that could be one reason, where it's their food, it's their energy source. They draw so much energy from the stars that they, or perhaps it's like, since they are dark matter beings, perhaps it is like how they create places for them to live, for themselves to live. So it's kind of like the settlers moving west or whatever. And they, in order to make the galaxy or star field or whatever habitable to themselves, they have to age and remove and destroy it, like cutting down trees to make room for houses, right? And perhaps the main characters of the story, the humans or the alien races that are being affected by this, are kind of like the birds and the bears and, you know, the other animals with their forest being cut down. And the dark matter beings are not cluing into it, because this is just how we make space for ourselves. You know, we cut space in space matter, you know, by removing stars, cutting them down like trees so that we can live here. And that could be very interesting to see, if that's the case, what the civilization looks like of these dark matter beings that has now made space as they colonize the universe. So this is not necessarily like, these are options that are not necessarily like they're specifically trying to be evil to other forms of life. It's about their own survival. And maybe they're kind of like the way humans are on Earth, they're kind of like that in the galaxy. So on Earth, you know, whether you like it or not, humans are kind of at the top of the food chain, right? That might rankle you, some of you. I understand. But in general, we have, for good or ill, control of the earth, to do with what we will, kind of, because we are the more intelligent species on the earth. And, you know, That's just how it is, right? So if we decide we want to move into this forest, we're going to go and cut down, and a bear is not going to come and stop us. Now, it might kill a couple of us, right? But in general, the bears are not going to be able to band together to keep us from cutting down their forest, because we have the superior intelligence, firepower, all that kind of stuff, you know, technology or whatever, to be able to exact our will on the earth. So perhaps they are kind of like that, but in the galaxy. So there's not much that, and this is setting up like a really nice almost impossibility. Like, what can your characters do against these? If they're like the birds in the trees, your main characters, what can the birds in the trees do against humans that are determined to cut the forest down so they can build their houses, right? So that's an option for, you know, why they are aging, prematurely aging stars and things like that. What else? So we've talked about food. We've talked about it being the way that they set up their living space, the way that they colonize particular pockets of the galaxy. It could also be that they can't survive in places that have the light of stars or the type of energy that stars put off in whatever way. If you want to go more scientific or whatever, look that up. Okay. But perhaps because they are dark matter beings, and this would also be a great place for you to do a little bit of research about dark matter, what it is, what it affects, so on and so forth. And I think that will really inform kind of what you set up for these beings. But perhaps it's something like they can't live in the light type of thing, right? They need to remove the light of the stars so that they can exist because they're dark matter, whatever that means. Look that up, the science of dark matter. So those are some options that you can give them, where they're just not, we're evil just because we just don't like human life, or not just human life, life in the universe other than our own, you know? So it kind of removes them. Like, when you're setting up your story, obviously, if you're doing it from the perspective of the beings that are affected by their actions, by the star systems and the galaxies and things that are affected. And, you know, that could be very interesting, because we could start, I don't know if you would start this way, but there could be the state of the universe is that there could be a lot of refugees happening, where when certain, you know, when a race of people, aliens, whatever, when a sentient race of beings gets word, or, you know, sees it on their radar that these dark matter beings are coming into their area, they flee. And so perhaps there are star systems and planets and galaxies that are overcrowded now, because of this, you know, these, listen, not to use an incendiary word or anything, but like immigration, this fleeing from their star systems, their planets, their solar systems, because of the encroaching of these dark matter beings. So now we've got this overcrowding in certain places, and, you know, how are we going to solve this problem of these beings? And at first it seems like these dark matter beings are just pure evil, because they go through, they displace, and maybe they're not directly killing. Not obviously, but they're maybe not directly killing any of these other sentient living beings on the planets in the star systems. But like you said, just the function of, or like the author said, just the function of them prematurely aging the stars and making supernovas and causing them to explode and all that kind of course would destroy the life in the solar system, right? So they are gonna automatically be seen as the big bad, as the person mentioned in their post. They're gonna be seen as the evil, the villain, or whatever. But then as we, in whatever way your story allows us to know that they don't, they're not malicious in their intent. It's for their own survival, which is something that we can understand as humans, right? Because it's going to be humans reading it. Okay, it's not going to be some aliens from another planet reading it. It's going to be humans reading the story or watching it. So we can understand that, we'll do what we need to do for our survival, right? Just like going back to the planet analogy, the forest analogy of like, we need to expand into this space. And so we're going to cut down the trees, and sorry to all the birds and the animals and the plants and whatever, we're taking this space and there's nothing you can really do about it, but it's for our own survival. We're not purposely, because we have a vendetta against birds that we're coming and cutting down the trees. We're not thinking about the birds. Oops. Sorry if you heard that. We're not thinking about the birds when we're cutting down the trees, right? So we're just thinking about the homes that we're going to build. We're thinking about, the wood and the logs that we'll have to get us through the winter, We're thinking about the industry that we'll be able to set up. So I think that if you go back in, author 88Y53, if you go back in and think about the structure, the format, those are not quite the words I want to use, but if you think about the makeup of these dark matter beings, what are they? What is their form? Are they giant space whales that are unimaginably huge, or are they billions and billions of a sentient race of multiple individual beings that have governments and that have whatever? And that could be very interesting, where you think it's like a big space whale, and then it turns out that, oh no, it's a bunch of individuals. It depends on where you want to go for your story. And then is there a way for the main characters, the main species that are being affected by their migration through the universe, to make contact with them and to be like, hey, you're killing us, bro, and then if you're setting up multiple books, it could be very interesting if at some point there is sort of a treaty agreement that is made between the dark matter beings and the different species, and you could have some very interesting relational things, friendships, romances, maybe, I don't know, depends on how all that's set up, but some very interesting things. Of course, it's going to depend on what you're setting up for your world. So those are three. I think I gave you three possible options for why these Eldritch monstrosity, which maybe they're not quite Eldritch monstrosities anymore. 3 reasons why they may, and there's probably multiple others. So you let me know, what are some others that you thought of as we were working through this? What are some other reasons beyond just we're evil for the kicks? We just like being evil. We like messing with other life and destroying life. What are some other reasons that you could think of for these Eldritch monstrosities to come and prematurely age stars? I'm very interested. Let me know in the comments below how you would handle it. If you hated my answers, let me know why, and how would you fix it? How would you make it better? If you liked my answers, but you had some like yes-anding that you were doing, like, oh, what about this? And what if it was also like this? Please let me know. Let's brainstorm in the comments. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if 88Y53 would ever see this, but let's brainstorm. It'll get the juices flowing, the story juices flowing anyway, right? So let's be kind and respectful in the comments, because we're best friends, okay? We're a community of best friends, and best friends treat each other with respect and kindness, okay? And tact, because we love each other. Listen, and have a great day. See you next time. Talk to you next time. And listen, have the best day ever, okay? Bye.